Welcome to another episode on our channel. Today we're going to be doing another something out of nothing, but with a background story. So this actually is a story from 2006. This is a real life story. It happened to me. So I was in the gym working out with my husband, and I was on a stationary bike, and I was doing what I do on a stationary bike. I was exercising, and all of a sudden I started to have some pain down my neck and headache, pain down my neck, shoulders, in between my shoulders. It was pretty bad. And I stopped bicycling and just kind of rested for a bit, and it still was pretty bad. So I got my husband's attention. I said, I think I need to go home. I'm not feeling all that well. And he said, okay. And so we went home, and 15, 20 minutes later, whatever it was, I thought it was pulled muscles or something like that. It had worked itself out of my system. And I thought, oh, I must have pulled my muscles. I don't know how I did it on a stationary bike, but I must have done that. So that event came and went, and 2 weeks later, I was getting ready to go to bed, pulled the sheets back, and boom, there it goes again, right here. In the back of my neck, in between my shoulders, my headache, and so forth. And I'm going like, well, I've been through this once before. Let me just take a sleep aid and go to sleep, and I'll wake up and things will be okay. And so I did, and 2 hours later, I was wide awake, and the pain was really bad. I got up, walked around. I was feeling nauseous, not feeling right. So I woke up my husband and said, hey, you need to bring me to the ER. I'm not feeling all that good. And so we went to the ER, and you know how you go to the ER, you kind of pretty much expect to wait, and sometimes you bring stuff with you, so the time can fly a bit easier if you go to the ER and have to wait. But I was telling them about having like the worst headache I've ever had, and I don't usually get headaches, so it was like weird, and I had this pain in the back of my neck and shoulders. And then as soon as I finished saying what I needed to say, I had to throw up, and they saw it coming, and so they got one of those little bowls, and of course I threw up in that thing, and then they whisked me back to the back room and took my blood pressure and that sort of thing. You know how you get really excited when you get to go back to the back room, and and you get into that little uncomfortable bed, but you're happy. Yeah, that curtain, and you're almost next in line. And so they did. I didn't know what they were looking for, but they did a lumbar puncture. And then they did a CAT scan, and it came back negative, and they said, well, maybe we did the lumbar puncture wrong, so they did it again, and it was bloody and cloudy like it was the first time, and then this time they did a CAT scan with contrast. And the resident came back after a bit and said, well, we know what's wrong. And I was going, you do? Fantastic, because I don't want to leave not knowing what's wrong. And he said, well, you have a brain aneurysm. And I had like two thoughts that just immediately went through my head. The first was good, surprisingly, because if it's not something that bad, then I don't know what's going on with me. And if they send me home and I don't know what's going on with me, I'm not happy. So that, at least that made sense. And then I went, not good, because you literally can die from brain aneurysms. So the resident also said, there are two ways to address an aneurysm in the brain. You can coil it or you can clip it, but yours is way too big to coil. So we're going to have to go in and clip it, which was interesting, but I made it. That was in 2006 and in 2006. And I am here today due to all we know about modern medicine, being able to go into the brain and clip aneurysms and that sort of thing. I had a couple brain bleeds. That's what caused the pain in my back, a headache, and that sort of thing, but I survived it. Well, let's fast forward a number of years, and I decided to wash a wool pillow. I'm not Susie Homemaker, so I didn't know you're not supposed to really wash these things, I guess. So I washed a wool pillow, and I put it in the dryer, and it came out in pieces except for this one piece. And if you look at this from all angles, I swear it looks like a brain. Everyone I show this to says, "Oh, you've got a brain there." And I go, "Yep, looks like a brain to me." So this is actually special to me because of what I went through in terms of having an aneurysm clipped in my brain. So anyway, this could serve as maybe a piece of a diorama to say something for Halloween. I don't know. But I wouldn't put blood or gore on it or anything like that. That would ruin the beauty of it looking like a white brain. But you've seen this figure before, but I thought I would show them to you again because did something different with the stand. So here we go. All right, so this is a Halloween figure. Like I said, you've seen him before. You've seen him with his hat off and with his hat on. He looks pretty creepy with that intense look. And of course, he's holding not a brain, but a skull. And I decided I would make a stand with a couple of smaller skulls. So in a sense, you've seen him before, but the new thing is the stand. So I'm not going to throw him around on a turntable, but we're going to take a break, pause, I should say, and get a close-up of the stand. And we'll talk about it a bit more. We are back, and this is also something out of nothing, the stand that we made. So the stand I had lying around, sprayed adhesive, sticky adhesive to the top of the stand, and threw some sand on, dead clippings of grass, that sort of thing. Put more spray on, threw more dirt on it, and so forth until it was built up to where it is now. My husband made the skulls. This one came out perfectly fine. This was a failed attempt, but even as a failed attempt without the jaw, it looks rather cool here. So he made the skulls. He painted them white. I weathered them. He also did the larger skull that this guy is holding. We'll show you the whole scene in a bit. But this is pretty much something out of nothing from my perspective, in the sense of these two skulls were pennies basically to make. You may not have that fancy equipment, but maybe you can get something off of eBay that doesn't cost very much, and you can add something like this to a stand for a Halloween look. You certainly have dirt outside and probably dead grass clippings, or you can cut some grass and wait until it has the certain look that you're looking for. Put some spray adhesive on a stand and then go to town with the stand. I think it looks quite good, actually. So we'll pause now and get the full look of this character you've already seen before, but this time with this new stand with these two skulls on it. We are back, and I know you might not believe me, but this is literally how this thing came out of the dryer. Yeah, there were a ton of pieces that came out that didn't look like anything, but there was this one piece that I swear looks like a brain. Every time I show it to someone and ask them, what does it look like to you? A brain. And they're surprised when I tell them the story. So I didn't do anything to this thing. I didn't put any indentations into it or anything. It's just a wondrous story from my perspective, especially after I went through what I went through and survived. So too big for a diorama, but we do have this guy. And this is pretty much something out of nothing, the stand. So this is the new thing, the stand. You've seen the guy before, but I think the stand really completes the overall. And that's the residual effect of the brain aneurysm. Every so often, I get a word that I stumble on. Sorry about that. But overall, this completes the look of this figure. I hope you've liked what you've seen. If you have, consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. In the meantime, everyone, have a great day.